Welcome to the Cash Flow Guys podcast. Join Tyler and his team as they unlock the secrets to achieving financial independence through wealth-building strategies inspired by Robert Kiyosaki and other thought-provoking leaders.
Learn to build leveraged streams of cash flow that land in your pocket and improve your quality of life.
Gain access to cutting-edge ideas that will increase your productivity and streamline your success. Find out how to supercharge your retirement plan so you won't have to retire with a pay cut.
You can escape the rat race.
Are you ready?
It's time to Learn to Earn with Tyler Sheff.
Welcome to the Cash Flow Guys podcast. Today we're going to talk about foreclosure auctions, specifically buying in foreclosure auctions. This is something that is done quite often, of course, and I know a lot of you guys that listen to the show, you're not necessarily buying, guys and girls, you're not necessarily buying in foreclosure auctions, but I also know a lot of you are, because a lot of you reach out to me through the cashflowguys.com/ask Tyler link. And I want to address some of the concerns that have come up lately. Recently, I had a guy reach out to me who had bought at a foreclosure auction, found out that there were some liens on there that, well, they just weren't disclosed to him up front. So we immediately got Kevin Overstreet at Insured Title on board, and he was able to make some corrections. That was a few months ago. Kevin, of course, runs into this situation every day. Now, those of you who listen to the show regularly know that Kevin has been on the show before. He's one of our favorite guests. The audience, you guys have just blown up his phones, so feel free to do that again. Makes Kevin's day. He's here to help. He's a very important part of my team, Kevin and his team. Matter of fact, late last night, one of his team was over at one of my clients' houses at 8 o'clock at night, signing the papers on the kitchen counters, just to get it done. That's kind of how we roll here at the Cash Flow Guys. But anyway, we're talking about getting hurt, investors getting hurt during the initial period of ownership, Kevin.
Yes.
This has been a problem that comes up time and time again, and you've basically come up with a way to kind of stupid-proof this whole thing and make it so the investor doesn't get burnt. Now, I know a lot of what happens is, and I know the listeners are probably thinking, well, listen, I know what you're going to say. Fine, I go out and pick 10 properties. I spend I pay you $150 to do a title search. Well, but here's what you guys got to understand. That's $1,150 to us, and then $1,150, our money goes out the window because we don't get any of those deals. So what is the solution? We want the title insurance because for those of you that don't know, you buy at the foreclosure auction, you're not getting any title insurance. You're getting, if I'm correct, a certificate of title, right, Kevin?
Yes, a
Okay.
certificate of title issued by the clerk of the court for whatever county you're purchasing the property in.
Right.
And it carries no guarantees whatsoever. I mean, imagine a government office saying we promise anything, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So they are transferring title to you. Think of it as a quitclaim deed, but a little bit worse. A quitclaim deed is typically someone who is in title, or at least thinks they're in title, voluntarily giving their rights to the property to you.
Right.
A certificate of title is the county who has assisted the court, who has assisted the lender in taking the property from the homeowners, typically not the most friendly transaction.
Kind of the shock and awe plan.
Yeah, and
Get out.
then the county says, hey, new buyer, here you go. Here's your certificate of title. Buyer beware. That's something that all investors hear all the time. You play the game. This is the game of investment, and most of the time, if you're smart, you're going to win. But sometimes you're going to get burned, and that's true. That's true in any type of investment. However, as this is my 19th year of doing this, and my probably 5th or 6th year of being very heavily focused on the residential purchase market in the Tampa Bay area and all of Florida, but specifically Tampa Bay. And I've seen so many investors just getting burned financially and losing everything in some cases. It is... some of it is because the investors didn't take the time to learn from Tyler some of the basics, and they're truly ignorant, and they see oh my gosh, this is, I can buy this property for $15,000. I can't believe no one else is bidding against me, and look at this great deal. I think I can sell it tomorrow for $90,000.
I'm gonna get rich.
Yeah, and you could, except what you bought was an HOA foreclosure, and there's another lender, there's a lender in a superior position that takes a little longer to foreclose than an HOA. You just paid the HOA off and made them whole, and now you are the title holder until the lender takes it from you. And then someone else will buy at their auction, and you're just out. So that's a common scenario of the person who really shouldn't call themselves an investor yet. They should be an investor apprentice or something. But
Should be a lot of those.
yeah, there should be a lot more of those.
You know, what I find is the people that buy at the auctions, they don't have a choice but to pay cash in most cases, unless they've got a relationship with a hard money lender. Now, I know the hard money lenders are a little leery getting involved in auction properties because of what you just said. Their lien position is not guaranteed.
Correct.
But now with this solution that we're getting ready to talk about, you can afford protection to them that they've never been used to having.
Correct.
The hard money lender over and above the investor.
Both.
So it's like a win-win and win.
Yeah, it's truly a no-brainer, and this is a new thing. No one's ever done this in the state of Florida that I'm aware of. When I've talked to the legal people at my underwriter companies, it's a new concept to them, and they're really smart about this stuff, so I think they would have heard about it. But what we've developed here is a way to sell a title insurance policy to that investor after they purchase the property. So, typical scenario, investor goes, buys a property for $100,000, here's your cash, $100,000. County says, here's your certificate of title, and then that investor spends maybe 3 months and $20,000 of their money rehabbing the property so that they can sell it to someone for, say, $150,000.
Let me stop right there.
Sure.
Folks, when I see the certificate of title, so if I'm out working with a client, or I'm out looking at an acquisition for my own portfolio, and the first thing, when I see certificate of title, I automatically go red flag. And at that point, and I just want to, not to interrupt the flow of the episode, but at that point, I'm absolutely going to control title in this deal. Absolutely, without a doubt, because I want to know that the quality of title that either me or my investors or my client is receiving is valid. Now, along with that, you're able to write insurance, title insurance, or issue policies in other states as well, correct?
Yeah, we actually handle, we can handle 46 different states.
Okay.
But over the last really 3 years, we have totally shifted our focus, or I guess narrowed our focus to just the Florida market. And some of that's because the logistics of getting things closed in different states and the customs in different states and the taxes and the way the seasons work on taxes and things it varies so much that it's difficult to be accurate with everything. And quite frankly, we're good in every state. I think we're better than most in all of those states, but I feel like we're fantastic in Florida. And my bottom line, I make about 3 times as much on a Florida deal as I do a Mississippi deal. So
There you go. But if somebody is having trouble finding a title company, is it possible they might be able to reach out or drop an email and get some sort of a referral?
yeah, of course. And if it's a state that even let's say it's Texas, where it's truly illegal for a non-resident company to get paid there, we have a network through our underwriters. I can jump online and say, look, here's a fantastic Stewart agent in that county or whatever. So yes.
Cool, okay.
We can either, we'll take first crack at it, and if it's something that we think someone else could do a better job with, or something that we can't get paid for, we will refer to that.
Everybody's got to get paid.
Yeah.
Amen to that. So we're back at the auction block. I've done a little bit of preliminary work. I've spent some time learning how to search for the obvious stuff myself, let's say, because I'm looking at several properties. I go to the auction, I bid, I win. What do I do next?
Let me, if you don't mind me backing you up, let me tell
Sure.
you about a real life scenario that's happening right now.
Okay.
In my company, and it's breaking my heart to watch it happen. We have, I have an investor who's one of my favorite clients, for sure, my favorite investor ever. Very, very brilliant guy, does several deals a month. They're all high end. They're all in this area.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought I was your favorite investor because my deals are not high end. and they're not in this area.
Well,
Did you guys hear that?
I consider you an investor guru, so you're
Oh, guru, that's even worse.
totally different class of person.
Dirty
Yeah.
word.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know how this gentleman finds these properties, and I know for sure he wouldn't tell me if I asked him. But the deals that he comes across they're incredible. Buy a property for $450 and sell it a month later for $700, and it's unreal. But so back to what's happening now. Purchase a property. I'll use simple math, but 3 months ago, I guess 4, purchased a property for $300,000, certificate of title, got a preliminary search done by a preliminary search company, and those are out there, and I can refer people to those, and I often do, and they do a very good job. They're very inexpensive, and they can tell you if there's something obviously wrong with the title to that property. They didn't catch anything, however, they also didn't insure anything. So they said, look, here's your report that doesn't carry any type of protection, but this is the information we're giving you.
Right.
And that's very much disclaimered all over it. So he felt secure, as most people would, purchased the property, put some money into it, put I think about $100,000 into it, and now is selling it for $500. So he's $400 into it and getting $500 and moving on to the next property. And the closing date was literally today, and yesterday, I guess it was Wednesday, they had to do an extension, I believe a 30-day extension, trying to fix a problem that just came to light. And that problem is when the people who were foreclosed upon, husband and wife, during the process, and remember, when you're being foreclosed on, until the certificate of title is issued by the county, you are the title holder to that property. You haven't lost your house until then.
So anything that comes up until that point can effectively go on the title.
Yes.
Ouch.
What happened was, in the middle of the foreclosure, the people died. And unfortunately, the attorney, and I don't know exactly what happened, but what I do know happened is they did not bring the heirs, their 2 children, they didn't bring them into the foreclosure process. Had they done so, the heirs would have said, yeah, whatever. They probably would have just gone along for the ride and not cared, and everything would have been done. That was the way that was found by our search was very, very intricate, because that's the type of search that we do when there's a certificate of title, obviously. So the heirs weren't brought into the process, and now the best case scenario, we track down the heirs, which we've done, and we've sent quitclaim deeds to them, and perhaps they sign the quitclaim deeds. There's no financial reason for them not to. There's no gain for them to try to take the property or something like that, because it was extremely upside down. However, they also, I don't know these people. They could get the quitclaim deed and say, what the heck is this? Let me get my lawyer. What do I do?
Right.
Or they could be, extremely unsophisticated and just throw it away. They could be out of town. Maybe they're on a tour in Afghanistan. We don't know these things. We didn't have phone numbers for them. The point is, so that's the best case. Worst case, believe it or not, is let's talk mid case. So that's best. The second best would be what is called a re-foreclosure, which isn't undoing everything. It's going back. Everything stays kind of the same as it is. They go back, and I don't know the mechanics of this, but they go back and grab those kids and drag them through a portion of the foreclosure process, and then we're good. That takes months.
How lovely. Not to mention emotional strain.
Yeah, months, and by then you've got a buyer who's gone and probably for sure got the earnest money back, and most likely or potentially is after you for some kind of damages.
Right.
And maybe you don't find a new buyer. Maybe the market turns and you don't get as good a price. So many things could happen. So that's the second best case. And then the worst case is an actual new foreclosure. And believe it or not, this is what's preferred by the title underwriters, where everything is undone. And again, I don't know the mechanics, but the investor gets his initial money back. But remember that word, initial. He loses title to the property. It goes back. The whole foreclosure happens again. Everybody spends money. Everybody spends time. And it goes back to the auction block.
Wait a minute. Stop right there. I get my $100,000 back.
Nope.
I get my $100,000 back, but I don't get my rehab money.
You get your $300 in this scenario with my current investor. He put $300 in initially, put another $100 in to fix it up, and he's selling it for $5. this 100 that he's invested out of his pocket, there's no security.
That's in the wind.
It's in the wind.
So just the initial investment goes back.
And if you extrapolate that thought, it makes the property much more valuable the next time it goes to auction block
Of course.
because it's been rehabbed. So it's a tough thing, and we're all hopeful, cautiously optimistic that these kids are going to sign the deeds. But if they don't, maybe this is a follow-up episode, and I can tell you in 3 months what happened. And
Yeah, I think we absolutely have to, depending on the outcome, I want to hear what happened here, because this thing can go 6 different ways and sideways. I could see that.
Or the product that we now offer could have been offered then and could have insured against any type of loss like this.
So stop right there. That's a good question. There's no title insurance in the mix. Who's paying for this fix? Someone's got to pay for. If you got quiet title suits and all this, there's legal fees, and you don't have title insurance to cover this. Well, now the investor, the owner of the property, he has to pay to write this mess, doesn't he?
He's hoping he's praying that he can pay these kids to sign the deeds. Here's a couple $1,000. Here's whatever, because that's best case.
And that wasn't in the rehab plan.
No, of course not. Neither was taking all this time. If you're an investor and you're using cash, it's not like you have limitless cash. So today, when this would have closed and funded, chances are this guy, as sharp as he is, has a property that he's bidding on Monday that he was going to use that cash for, and now it's not happening. So it's a ripple effect that's huge.
Wow, that's amazing. And I see so many careless, and I see more careless investors out there than I do cautious ones. Mm-hmm. It scares me because, and especially putting myself in a position where I educate people, it blows me away that I see people taking this risk. I get it from some respect because, $150 a title search can get expensive after a while. However, how much will it cost if you don't do it, if you don't put one of these plans into play? So now, if he had done this plan that we're talking about,
mm-hmm.
the correct, well, first of all, the problem could have been identified right away within a few weeks of
Yes. Where we expect this product to go and where it seems to be going already is the typical scenario is not going to be the investor being so proactive that they're giving us a couple weeks of lead time before they even bid. That's where it started, but that's not all that realistic because, as you know, Tyler, so many auctions get canceled the day before, a couple days before, when somebody decides they don't actually want to move out. So where I know this is going is the investor purchased the property, spent the money, and then they contact us and say, I want title insurance on this property. So let's use this same example that we've been talking about. What he would have done, could have done, frankly, if we were doing this then, this is new, we're only a couple months into this. He would have said, oh, okay, Kevin, I just purchased this property, I want title insurance. We would have done the most detailed and intricate examination of the foreclosure proceedings possible, and we would have found that this problem existed. Okay, these people died and they had heirs. So that doesn't, and I would say to him, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to insure the title, which is bad news, certainly bad news, but it's bad news 3 months ago, and it's bad news $100,000 ago. What is the most precious resource that we have in the world? It's not love,
time.
It's not money, it is time.
Absolutely.
And what do we all run out of eventually? Time. What does every transaction run out of? Time. What did this one just run out of? Time, other than the extension, which hurts everyone in every way. Buyer's rate lock expired today, also, by the way.
Oh, great.
Yeah, for all we know, they can't get a mortgage now. We don't know.
Or maybe they don't want one at this point because if they were owner occupants, they may be backed against the wall, need a place to live. Now he's got to go find another buyer.
They could have a semi full of furniture outside their hotel.
If there's a realtor in the mix, the realtor technically could have a claim on their commission, maybe.
Potentially.
I brought you because there's lots of scumbag agents out there. Be like, I don't care what happened. I brought you a buyer ready, willing, and able. You couldn't close. Write me a check, boy.
Yeah, so Ponce de Leon spent his whole life looking for the fountain of youth to add more time to lives, and that turned out to not work out, unfortunately. But with this method, we can add more time to a transaction, to your investment. So you're going to hold the property for 3 months. Had he 3 months ago, had he said, I want title insurance, I would have said, okay, we did our entire search and we found this huge problem that must be fixed before you have insurable title. He has marketable title, but not insurable title, and that's a whole nother topic. But so then we would have tracked down those kids 3 months ago. And if they had lawyered up and it took them a month to figure it out and say, oh, let me just sign that, because truly the only way that they could take the property would be to come in and pay the full judgment amount, which was about $500,000, and it's already been rehabbed and only worth $4 million, so they wouldn't do that. It would make no sense. But we would have had all of that time, even before there was a buyer, even before the rehab started.
To correct the issue.
The point is, yeah, so the investor at that moment can either say, based on what the issue is, and they are so numerous that we're not going to get into that, and there's no way I could even think of them all. There are hundreds of potential issues. Based on what it is, case by case, you say, let me fix it. Let me, let's say it's a judgment that expires in 2 years. Okay, let me not flip it. Let me hold it and rent it for 2 years.
Well, exactly.
And then it goes away. Or let me find another investor who doesn't care and dump it on them, and and disclose everything and say, look, you can't have insurable title, but you can own the property, or let me rehab it while I'm fixing or while I'm waiting for the title issue to be fixed. The point is, it adds time, it adds flexibility, and you know what you're getting into in the beginning, instead of, I mean, you just spent, in this case, you just spent $300,000 on a property and knows physically what the property is, but doesn't know from a title standpoint for sure what he got.
Yeah,
and then drop another $100,000 into it, and then find out. Okay, so now that I've put all this money into it, let me find out what it is.
Yeah, that's kind of mind blowing. And I hate this. I don't have a better way to say this, but I'm glad that we had the opportunity to bring this to light, because when I talk to people out in the field, they're like, "Oh, that's a bunch of garbage. Nothing like that ever happens," because nobody ever talks about what can go wrong. All the RIA meetings I go to, all the trainings that I've been to, everybody always talks about what goes right, the money, making the money, everything's great. If you hear something go wrong, it's usually because somebody ripped off somebody else, but you never hear of the down and dirty. Well, guess what? You bought a house that's a title train wreck. More importantly, you never hear about the solutions. What most people would hear about this situation and go, well, I'm not going to flip houses anymore, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Or, as you all know, I'm not a big fan of flipping. But the other side of the coin is that maybe people would get out of real estate altogether because they think it's too much. But my takeaway is, if you employ your solution and you're smart about it, and you use strategy, you put these stopgap measures in place, at the end of the day, it costs you less money. Even if there isn't a problem, it still costs you less money than doing it, I'll say, halfway.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the money side, because obviously investors are all about the bottom line.
Sure.
That's why they're investors.
Yeah.
So the thought would be, well, I don't want to spend the money up front. I don't want to spend the money when I purchase the property. I'm going to have to already spend money when I liquidate the property and sell that to an end buyer. So if I could take a few minutes and run through a scenario of how this actually works. So, and you can call me for this, for a replay of this, or just listen to it again if I go too fast. But let's say you're an investor. The $300,000 scenario isn't all that typical. So let's say you're buying a $100,000 property at auction, and you're going to do it the old way, which is you're going to get nothing related to title insurance until you sell the property 3 months later. So you're gonna buy for $100,000. You're going to put $20,000 in. You're going to sell it for $150,000. So you're going to make $30,000. Sounds like a great deal, and it is. So the old way and the current way: $100,000, zero for title insurance, of course, zero for closing, zero protection. So the 3 months that you own the property and you put your $20,000 into it, you are protected by nothing.
Rolling the dice.
Rolling the dice.
Or the revolver cylinder, one or the other, depending on how you choose.
Yeah. So 3 months later, you sell this property for $150,000. You're most likely paying the premium for your buyer. So $150,000 premium in the state of Florida. Title premium is $825. So remember that number, $825.
Got it. 825.
And a typical closing fee to an investor when they're selling, if you're just kind of bouncing around from title company to title company, which many do, is $500. So just using that simple math, putting those two costs together. Of course, we're not talking doc stamps and all that kind of stuff, because that's going to remain the same in both of these scenarios. You've spent $1,325, $825 plus $500.
Right.
Okay, so that's your bottom line cost in that scenario. Now, let's run that same property through my company with full insurance. Okay, and let's assume there's nothing wrong. You purchase the property, you say, I want title insurance. Worst case, we say no, but here's how to fix it, or here's why. Best case, and in most cases, we're going to say yes. We're going to say, here's your $100,000 title insurance policy, and you give me a check for $575, which is the promulgated rate for title insurance for $100,000. So $575 is your investment, and the entire 3 months that you own your property, you are fully insured that you have clear title to that property, which means your $20,000 never goes into a gray area of potentially being lost if there's a problem. So, and that's more cash out of your pocket. So 3 months later, same scenario, you're selling the property for $150,000, same title premium of $825. However, the state of Florida requires us as title companies to give you what's called a reissue credit or a prior title discount. You already invested the $575 into the $100,000 policy, which it's a simple, not simple, but it's a graph that is a $245 discount. So the title premium for your buyer's end policy that you pay is $580. That's $825 minus $245.
Right.
Okay, so you're at $580. And you're also, what I'm going to do is discount the closing fee from $500 to $100 because it's a repeat deal. It's a much simpler search for me to do. And quite frankly, as soon as you sell the property, the policy that you purchased from me in the beginning for $575 becomes null and void because you no longer own it. So that $575, that $100,000 policy was only at risk of claim for 3 months. So that's a safer position for me to be in. So instead of $500, it's $100. So you're spending $580 for the premium to your buyer, $100 for that closing, plus your initial $575 investment. Total $1,255. So it is $1,325 for you to be completely unprotected and at risk the entire time, or $1,255.
That's amazing.
For complete protection. Now keep in mind, if you do this same thing run through these same numbers with a $500,000 deal or something like that, the reissued credits become less, and not every deal is the same. But this is simply to illustrate the fact that you could spend the same or less, potentially less, probably about the same, and sometimes more. To be in a position of complete protection and security, or you could continue doing it the way you're doing it, rolling the dice and winning most of the time.
Well, you're never going to pay. I see these, well, you do too, I'm preaching to the choir, but those of you that are listening, it takes one good title issue and you're done.
Done.
You're done. And this is the thing, if you're out there, if you're in a big rush, and I talk about this all the time, if you're out there in a big rush, I don't care whether you're flipping, buying and holding, wholesaling, whatever you're doing is your exit strategy. You got to make sure you're diligent on, number one, your paperwork, but most importantly, the condition of title of these properties. Because if the title's not right, nothing's right. Now, I just thought of another bonus here. One of the big reasons that hard money lenders are not a fan of lending on properties that are purchased at an auction is because they really can't have any sense of security based on the condition of title. But this little plan that you're coming up with kind of opens the door for hard money lenders to reduce their risk position.
There are a bunch of reasons hard money lenders don't like these types of deals. One is because it's an investor, and when investors, we all saw this happen when the bubble burst a few years ago. Most investors were also homeowners, and if I live in one home and I own 9 others, guess which one gets let go last? It's
right.
The one I live in, of course. So that's a little bit of a red flag. But yeah, the other glaring red flag is there's no there's no insurance of their lien position. What that means is the hard money lender says, hey, investor, here's a mortgage. These are the terms, here's the note, everything looks great, here we go. Maybe they did a quick search also, but they're not actually insured. So if, God forbid, they have to foreclose on that investor, they come in and they do it the right way. They're a lender, there's nothing wrong with them foreclosing. And there's another lien, there's an old mortgage, there's an HOA lien, they can't foreclose. So it's scary for them. So Tyler, guess what the additional cost for the lender's policy, and this is set by the state also, the additional cost in this scenario of $100,000 deal for the $100,000 lender's policy to also be insured. Take a guess at what that would cost.
$300.
$25.
$25.
It's called the simultaneously issued lender's policy. So we issue the owner's policy and the lender's policy at the same time, and that simultaneous issuance for the lender can be as low as $25, set by the state. We can charge more. But
That's huge. $25. So folks, you're out there, you're thinking about buying from the auction. Before you do so, obviously we talked about you need to do your homework. Step 2 is, you do a preliminary search, make sure things are good to go. You're getting close on a property. You're looking at your exit strategies, understand what you're getting yourself into. If you're still ready to pull the trigger and you pull the trigger, you get out, you pick up the phone, you call Insured Title. I imagine you probably want us to call Matt.
Yes.
Matt's the manager over here.
Matt's the title manager, and he's the one who's the most in the loop on this, and he handles the nuts and bolts going back and forth with everybody.
You pick up the phone, you call Matt. Matt's going to collect the initial fee from you, correct? And then we're going to get the wheels going and get you guys protected, get you heading down the right road. Before we round up here is the fact that, if you buy a property and you have these title issues, there are exit strategies. We touched on it briefly, but if you're going to flip the property and now you decide you can't flip the property for whatever, you always have the opportunity to do a lighter rehab perhaps, even if there's title issues, and turn it into a rental. There's all kinds of options. The bottom line is still get take the steps and get the protections in place, because all problems can be worked out. No situation is completely hopeless. It just depends on really how much money you want to throw at it. And the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to throw your money at it, or would you rather have the title insurance policy throw their money at it? And that's really my takeaway from it when it comes down to take those steps to move on. So if you want to reach out to Matt, you can reach him at 813-855-3585. That's 813-855-3585. That's Matt from Insured Title. Kevin, I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you very much.
And for those of just a little bit of housekeeping, for those of you that have not yet joined the Facebook group, we are going to be doing webinars or little meetings I'll try to do it at least once a week. I'll be covering a range of different topics: negotiation tactics, sales tactics, title work, all of the different aspects of real estate investing that you want to know. Those will all be available via a Zoom session. Zoom is an online meeting. It's free of charge. The way to get access to that information and get on the list is to take part in our Facebook group. To reach our Facebook group, go to cashflowguys.com/group, cashflowguys.com/group. As always, if you want to schedule some time with me, you need help getting off the couch, figuring out what to do, get unstuck, get uncluttered, go to cashflowguys.com/ask Tyler. If you decide that you're ready, you've already talked to me, it's time to get moving in the right direction. You got the gun loaded, you're ready to pull the trigger, you're ready to take your investing career to the next level, and you just simply need a coach, a mentor, someone to keep you going, to teach you how to negotiate, give you the skills that you need to pull the triggers and get that passive income going. Someone that's going to vet your deals for you and make sure that you don't get burnt. Someone that's going to be in your corner during the whole process. You can schedule an hour consultation with me. That is 1 hour free of charge at cashflowguys.com/coach. cashflowguys.com/coach. Remember, that link is for those that are ready to go now. Thanks again, folks. Have a great week. We'll catch up with you next time.
This concludes today's episode. You don't have to wait till the next episode to learn to earn.
Head over to cashflowguys.com and contact Tyler and his team for more powerful tips and ideas so you can start generating multiple streams of income and escape the rat race.